Jonathan Smith, it's time to get to work. It's time for a major rebuild in East Lansing. The Mel Tucker era was very short-lived. That magical 2021 season feels like it was forever ago. The Spartans have gone just 9-15 the last two seasons, and once again, they will have their work cut out for them in 2024. So guys, welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, ready to break down the Michigan State Spartans. Let's get down to their schedule and their record for this upcoming season. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home of our expert picks, home to those exclusive newsletters, one that is free for all of you, and one that you will get if you sign up for those expert picks, providing you extra analysis, extra betting analysis, extra winnings that you won't find anywhere else. We want you to go take advantage of all of that, guys. We want you to sign up, become a member of our GE Nation, because we can promise you, you're going to want to be a part of our team as we progress through this season. So let's take a look at the Spartans, guys. They obviously had a very rough season in 2023, and I'm afraid it's going to be about the same in 2024, as is the case with a first-year head coach and a lot of question marks on the roster. You start on offense. It's probably the biggest concern of the team. They only averaged 15.9 points per game last year, only 289 total yards per game last year. So one of the worst offenses in the country. Jonathan Smith brings in Aiden Childs in with him from Oregon State, a dual-threat quarterback that could benefit this roster. But he's going up against a veteran, Tommy Schuster. Threw for over 9,000 yards as a four-year starter at North Dakota in the FCS level. So two capable quarterbacks there, two quarterbacks that have different play styles. But I think whoever they choose, more likely it's going to be Childs, will end up panning out in time for Michigan State. Take a look at Nate Carter, rushed for nearly 800 yards last year at running back, arguably the best player on the offensive side of the ball. Montorie Foster is also back as a leading wide receiver, but overall, this Michigan State team still has a lot of concerns. Big concerns with the offensive line, just 31 career starts up front. Concerns at a quarterback, either in Childs, who hasn't much starting experience, or Schuster, who's taken a major step up in the playing level. They've got major concerns there, and I think they'll get better as the year goes on, but early on it might struggle quite a bit. Defensively, 10 starters are back with tons of transfers. Their top four tacklers do return, though, led by Cal Holiday, 91 tackles last year for Michigan State. He returns at linebacker. They added Wayne Matthews, who had 135 tackles last year at Old Dominion. They added Jordan Turner in from Wisconsin, also at linebacker. Malik Spencer is back in the secondary, going to do very well back there. The biggest concern really is the defensive line. So, the trenches, the line of scrimmage. Michigan State has questions on the offensive line. They've got questions on the defensive line. If you can't win the battle at the line of scrimmage, it's going to be very hard to win football games, and we know that. So a lot of questions for Michigan State this year. I think there's going to be a team that tries to run the ball relatively effectively, try to run the ball more often than not. As a team that defensively, despite some questions, is the strength of the team, but can they navigate what's going to be a very difficult schedule? That's the question mark. And before we dive into this, I want to make this a reminder. Jonathan Smith, as great as he was at Oregon State these last couple years, is a program builder, not a miracle worker. You know, you go back and look. His first year at Oregon State, he went 2-10. The next year, just 5-7. Then it was that 2-5 COVID year. Put an asterisk by that. He didn't get Oregon State to a bowl game until year 4. They went just 7-6, then 10-3, then 8-4. He hit his stride the last 3 years. But the first 3 years, it was rough. It took some time to build. That's going to be the exact same thing now in East Lansing. Take a look at the Spartans. They beat Florida Atlantic. I think they're 1-0, but then they dropped the game to Maryland. They lost the Terrapins 31-9 last year. And yes, Maryland loses Talia Tagovailoa. They lose their star quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks in Big Ten history. But they have a very strong front seven that's going to be able to bottle up this Michigan State run game, and they're going to force whoever's under center for the Spartans to win the game through the air. That's not something they want to do. That's not something I think they can do, especially in week 2 and on the road. Maryland gets that win. Spartans bounce back and beat Prairie View A&M, and then the schedule gets tough. I mean, it's tough as a whole, but then it gets really tough. We'll start with Boston College. The Boston College game is winnable because both these teams have so many question marks and unknowns. Both teams dealing with a new coach, Jonathan Smith, obviously at Michigan State, and then you've got Bill O'Brien over at Boston College. But the Eagles, to me, are in a much better spot. They've got 17 starters returning. They have a veteran quarterback and Thomas Castellanos, who was so dangerous with his legs last year. Bill O'Brien's going to get more of him out of a passer as well as the offensive mind that he is. Boston College owning the home field advantage in this game, I think, goes a long way. I think Michigan State falls to the Eagles. I think it's closer than people expect. I think it's close for a while, but the Spartans' defense doesn't have enough to contain Castellanos. Boston College's defense can shut down this Michigan State offense. I think it's going to struggle once again. The Eagles get the win. Michigan State 2-2 after the first 4 weeks. And then look at their next 4 games. Look at how brutal the schedule makers were to Michigan State. Their next 4 games are Ohio State and Oregon, arguably the top 2 teams in this conference. Then the bye week, Iowa, who returned 18 starters and is going to be very, very good this year. And then on the road at Michigan, the reigning champs, the big-time rival, whatever. But the four of the top teams in the Big Ten, Michigan State faces in 4 consecutive games. Unreal. Absolutely unreal. And I can tell you right now, they're not winning any one of those games. They're not beating Ohio State. We know that. They've been outscored by the Buckeyes by 113 points in the last 3 meetings, including a 38-3 loss last year. They're not going on the road and beating Oregon. Last played there in 2014, had that home-and-home series between the Ducks and the Spartans, back when both teams were very, very good and playoff contenders, but not beating Oregon now. Then they come back home after the bye week to take on Iowa, who they only lost to by 10 last year, but the Hawkeyes loaded. 18 starters back. Defense could be even better than they were last year, and that's a crazy thought. And the offense should take a step forward with Cade McNamara being fully healthy and a new offensive coordinator. And then on the road at Michigan, lost 49-0 to the Wolverines. Yes, they lose tons. They lose their coach, and they lose their quarterback, and they lose Blake Corum. They lose some of their defense. All that being said, the defense is still significantly better than whatever the Spartans can put out there. And the offense for Michigan, while they may struggle early on, will get better as the season progresses. And they still boast one of the best running backs in this conference in Donovan Edwards. So 4 of the top teams in the conference in 4 consecutive games. Michigan State, I believe, drops all 4 of those. And then prior to that, they lose to Boston College. So we've got on a 5-game losing streak. And I hate to do that, but that's just the nature of the beast. That's just the fact of the matter. They're not winning any of those games. They come back home, start of November, and they're going to win out if they want to go bowling. And that's really not the expectation this year. It's a rebuilding year. I don't think anybody's really expecting Michigan State to go bowling. And if you are, you might want to temper your expectations a little bit. Come back home to take on Indiana. Indiana, a team that I'm actually pretty excited about this year. This is a team under Kurt Cignetti, guy who's never had a losing season, brings over tons of transfers from James Madison, that very good James Madison team we saw last year. But I actually think Michigan State finds a way to win this game. They've won 12 of the last 15 games against the Hoosiers. They won 24-21 last year. And I think this is where the run game finally comes through. The run game might not have much success against some of the stingy defenses they're going to play in the 4 games prior. But Indiana, despite bringing in some talented players, may struggle a little bit, especially with, chemistry up front. And I think Michigan State back home in the healthy confines of their home in East Lansing pull off a win over the Hoosiers, who still are going to be very good this year, but going to go through some growing pains, as you do with a new coach and new players. And Kurt Cignetti, we'll talk about this more in our Indiana video, always typically loses a game that he shouldn't. This will be a game where I think Indiana is favored, but the Hoosiers lose. Michigan State wins the game, keeps their bowl hopes alive, comes out of their bye week for a winnable game at Illinois, but they do fall to the Fighting Illini. Last time they were here, back in 2022, they pulled off the upset. Michigan State won 23-15 over the 14th-ranked Illinois Fighting Illini as a 16-point underdog. But now Illinois has a very strong offensive line. They've got a veteran quarterback returning in Luke Altmaier. The defense should take a little bit of a step forward, have a lot of talent there, especially in the back 7. I like Illinois at home in this game, a team that's going to flirt with bowl eligibility under Brett Bielema. They lose that game. They beat Purdue, maybe the worst team in the league, and that's unfortunate because I think Purdue, talent-wise, is better than they were last year, but the Boilermakers just got one of the worst schedules, and by worst we mean toughest, schedules in the entire country. There's talent there, but I think Purdue struggles a little bit. They're going to struggle in East Lansing against the Spartans. They get revenge, or they beat Purdue, not revenge. Also a Purdue team coming off back-to-back games against Penn State and Ohio State, so maybe beat up, they struggle on the road, and then they come back home, take on Rutgers. Senior day for the Spartans. Can they beat the Scarlet Knights? No, they cannot. Rutgers is a very good team this year. Yes, you heard that correctly. They're a good team this year. This is not the Rutgers team of years past. They have one of the best defenses in the Big Ten. Only gave up 21 points per game last year and have 8 starters back now on that side of the ball. They have one of the best running backs, not just in the Big Ten, but in the entire country. And Kyle Monungai, Rutgers and Michigan State typically have some pretty close games. Last year was a 27-24 game, which Rutgers won. This year, I think the Rutgers Scarlet Knights win by at least at least a touchdown, if not more. They spoil senior day in East Lansing, and the Spartans in year one under Jonathan Smith go 4-8. Obviously not ideal, but we have them winning 2 conference games. That counts for something. I think they're competitive in a handful of other games. I think they're competitive against Boston College, and they can hang with Maryland for a bit. I think the Illinois and Rutgers games can be relatively close, but to me, guys, this is not a bowl team. This is a team that was just decimated following the 2021 season, decimated when Mel Tucker got let go, and they are acknowledging we've got to take the time to rebuild. We've got to take the time to put the work in, lay a foundation, let Jonathan Smith do his thing, which is building a program. It took him over 3 years to rebuild Oregon State and get them back to a competitive level and to be a contender in the Pac-12. Maybe he can do a little bit quicker at Michigan State, but he's not going to be able to do it in year one. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home to our expert picks, home to our exclusive newsletters. You do not want to miss out anything we have there for you guys. Take advantage of it. Become a member of our team. Soak in all of the college football content because we are getting very, very close to the start of the season. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.